Wait, no, it didn't work.
Did it not work?
Just keep talking. Let's just see how long we can go.
Hello.
Yeah, harmony. Yay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of This Is My Bourbon Podcast, where we discuss what makes bourbon the spirit of Kentucky. My name's Perry. Thank you all so much for joining me this week. We've got a very special guest, but before we get to him, I'm going to welcome Chad back to the podcast.
Hi,
for
everybody.
the third time this round.
Yeah.
And with us, as I said before, is a new friend of the show, Mr. Bill Sheehy.
Hey guys, good to be here. Ready to drink some bourbon? Ready to talk some Star Wars? Let's get into it.
Yeah, we're doing something a little bit different today. We're doing a Star Wars episode, and I am. I'll bring it back around to bourbon by the end of the whole thing, but it will tie back.
You don't need to try very hard. It just it naturally at some point it'll get back into it.
Oh, it definitely will. First pour of the show is going to be Bullet, just the regular Bullet Frontier bourbon. This has been one of my favorites for a long time, and I kind of fell out with it for a little bit, but then recently came back to it. As I've discussed on the show before, Mark from Bullet, one of the, I guess, marketing guys there, reached out to me, I guess after I reached out to him first and asked for Tom to be on the show. He said it wasn't going to work out, but we'll send you a bottle anyway. I was like...
That's a pretty good deal.
Okay, yeah. Sure, why not? So free bottle of bourbon from the guys at Bullet. But anyway, in honor of kicking things off, guys, cheers.
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 That'll do.
Yeah. So as I introduced a couple weeks ago on the show, the new segment, What We've Been Drinking, where we talk briefly about what we've been sipping on. Sorry, I had a weird email that just popped up. What we've been sipping on recently since we last talked. So, Bill, since you're new, what you been drinking on?
Well, I got for Christmas this year a bottle of just regular Basil Hayden, and I've just been knocking that down a little bit. I had a full bottle at Christmas. It's a little bit under a quarter of a bottle. But yeah, it's good. It's smooth. It's not pappy, but it'll get the job done.
I would really like to see a higher proof version of Basil Hayden get put out sometime.
Yeah.
I mean, that will never happen, of course, but maybe it's someday.
Wait, is it Basil Hayden or is it Basil Hayden?
I've always said Basil Hayden.
Okay,
You say Basil Hayden.
I say
Is it
Basil. Yeah.
Oh, have I been saying it wrong this entire time?
No. I think we're definitely in the minority.
Okay, gotcha.
I was told a story by Adam. I can't remember his last name, but he's the brand ambassador for Beam Suntory, and it was basically about the gist of it. It was a really good story, but I can't do it justice, so I'll just boil it down to the gist of it. I've never met a man named Basil. So it's named after a man, so Basil.
It makes for a great
like
great spice,
Basil.
though. I will say that much.
Yeah. Basil Expedition from Austin Powers. It wasn't Basil Expedition. So that's why. And we've been, purposely training ourselves to say Basil instead of Basil because I always called it Basil Hayden too.
Right, and I did too for a little while, and then I think maybe one time I accidentally, I was ordering it, and I think I accidentally said Basil Hayden, and then the waiter looked at me and was like, "Thank you."
What's his name?
You were
Basil?
You were accidentally right.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's all
Exactly. Cool.
Yeah.
Chad, what you been drinking on recently?
I've been drinking a lot of ryes lately. We've been doing. We just did our second rye flight fight yesterday. We filmed it. Been coming out. Well, I don't know when this is going to come out, so that really doesn't matter. It's probably out by the time this podcast is out. But yeah, so I've been drinking a lot of rye. But another thing, bourbon-wise, has been the Old Fitzgerald Bottle and Bond.
Yeah, we talked about that last time that you were on.
Yeah.
I still have yet to try it.
I almost brought it, but I thought, we've got three high rye bourbons here to drink. We're probably good.
Yeah, we're good for this episode. Yeah.
But I'm not completely certain if it's being made anymore. I know it's really hard to find.
I feel like it's not.
Yeah,
I think I saw something recently.
I don't think it is. That's what I've always heard.
Yeah.
But then I'll find it here and there, and okay. But now for sure, if I find it, I'm definitely gonna buy it.
Yeah.
It's just so much better than the 80 proof, than the prime.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah.
It's the nuttiness is really amplified in that 100 proof.
Yeah. And I know where I think I've told you before. I know where a handle of the bottle and bond is sitting here in Richmond.
Of the old Fitz?
Yeah.
Oh, well, tell me.
Well, okay, I'll
Don't
tell you.
them.
Yeah, I won't tell everybody else. I'll tell you out there. But unfortunately, liquor stores in Richmond aren't opened on Sunday. And we're recording on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. I almost said by the time we finish, it'll be, I was thinking 6 o'clock places would close, but not even open on Sunday.
Liquor stores in Richmond stay up pretty late. I mean, even some stay up until like midnight or 1 a.m.
Oh,
It's
really?
really surprising. Yeah. Which is a nice change from going to Lexington and liquor barns closed at like 9, 10 o'clock.
That's just a shame.
Yeah.
What have I been drinking on? I really have been, kind of like last time I was saying, I've been drinking a lot of Blanton's. I finished off a bottle of VH Taylor Small Batch last night.
Ooh, I love that.
I do too.
It's so good.
It's so hard to find too, which is such a shame. But
I have 9 bottles bunkered.
Chad is. Let's talk for a second about. I don't know if we've ever talked on air about this before, but Chad is very much a bourbon collector. And a couple months ago, right, you went through and counted all the bottles that you had.
Yeah, I don't know if we're really gonna make that public now.
No, we won't. But I will say, when Chad told me that he was doing this, he goes, "Take a guess, and if you're right, I'll give you a bottle." And I was like, "Awesome!" So I guessed, and I was one number off. I was one off.
Yep.
And and it was one of those two where I was just kind of shooting it out, like, "There's no way there's going to be this many."
Yeah. And then
There
you
were that many.
off.
There were that many plus one.
Plus 1. Yeah, but I want to own every bottle. So if it's an $8 bottle that I haven't had before, I want that bottle.
Do you have a lot of bottles of Kentucky Gentleman then, or is it just?
Well, KG is a blended whiskey.
So
So
I guess
I am a stickler for the rules. I am a stickler. So blended whiskey, not bourbon. So no, I don't.
Well, I've got
I
a bottle.
am no KG.
good.
I've got that bottle of Old Kentucky Barrel Select over there that I don't think you've had before. It's an 80 proofer. It was one of those where I was just kind of glancing around, seeing if there was something that.
Is that the one with the 4 on the neck?
Yeah.
No, I have it.
Oh, you do really?
Yeah.
Have you actually?
Of course.
Have you actually tried it?
Yeah, that was. I haven't seen it in ages. That was in our 50 under 25.
Oh, was
which
it really?
Our first episode, which was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen it since then. So
Yeah.
I opened it for that, but it didn't make it too far in the bracket.
Yeah.
I don't think. But
I mean, it's nothing special, but it was another one of those where I figured I would at least try it.
yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
pleasantly surprised. But what's funny though is that you go. One of the first things if I pick up a bottle like that is to do research on it, and I couldn't really find anything, and I scanned it into my phone for calorie track because new year, new me, whatever.
Sure.
And when it popped up on the app, it said it was Evan Williams based on the barcode. I was like, this is very
Maybe it's just
bizarre.
maybe
by
it's just
Evan Hill.
different label. I mean,
It could very well be, but I mean it. I mean, I got it for $10. I mean, it's worth it just to
Oh, absolutely.
try something new for $10. So one of the things I like to do when we have new people on the show is ask them about how they got into bourbon. So, Bill, I'm going to ask you about how you got into bourbon, but I'm also going to expand things a little bit too because this is a Star Wars themed episode.
There you go.
Which I'm really kind of psyched about because I haven't really put I guess my thoughts about Star Wars on record before, and we're all three real big Star Wars fans.
absolutely.
So first talk about how you started drinking bourbon and why it was important to you, but then go into your relationship with Star Wars and especially what you're doing with it now.
Okay, absolutely. So, I guess bourbon has always kind of just like been around. I have a large Irish Catholic family, so obviously there's always drinking happening. Every weekend we're going where there's a family party or something, and I guess my first entry into it was my uncle always drank, or he still does drink, Maker's Mark, and so I mean that's kind of like pretty basic. Like everybody, if you know anything about bourbon, it's just Maker's Mark is just run of the mill kind of stuff. But that was my entryway, and so like when I started drinking when I was 21, like everybody else, because
sure,
exactly, it was legal. That's what I started with, and then like so my dad, he would get at his job like at the end of the year, people would just give him bottles of bourbon for presents. And so,
how do I get that job?
Exactly. No, he just like that's nobody knows what to get him, so they would just like here's alcohol. You like that? Yeah. So and so it started Maker's Mark. I enjoyed it, and then we would just have nights, father and son, where we would just drink bourbon and just taste different ones. And that's actually when you were just talking about the Taylor. The first one, like the first sip of Taylor I had, was blown away just because like it just. I've never experienced a bourbon at that point that just kind of like you put in your mouth and it just kind of evaporates a little, and it was awesome. And so it's this past year has actually been like a pretty big like bourbon year for me, like 2017, because I finally got to taste Pappy, which
good on you. Yeah.
Oh my god! Like I didn't think like anything could like live up to my expectations, but then like it just goes down. Like it's beautiful and it's smooth and it's everything you want a bourbon to be. So that's kind of my like experience with bourbon. I've always it's been around, but like I didn't appreciate it until I was an adult.
Sure.
And I continue to expand my horizons, so to speak, with all this kind of with bourbon stuff. But Star Wars, let's get to Star Wars.
Yes, let's talk about Star Wars as well.
So, as much as bourbon has been there, Star Wars has pretty much been there since before that.
A long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago in Lexington, basically. Some of my first memories of I don't remember like seeing it for like the first time because like I was 2 or 3.
Right.
But one of my earliest memories is my mom was coming up the stairs and she had this big baggy like brown Jedi hoodie is what I called it, and I had the hood up and she was coming up the stairs, and I loved Obi-Wan Kenobi, and like I would take the hood up when I took the hood down and said, "Hello there." And so,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's it's always been there, and I'm growing up as I'm 23, so I grew up. I wasn't able to see the original trilogy in theaters. So the movies I got to see.
He said that very directly to you, Chad.
Well,
by the way.
I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't mean that.
It's like that, huh?
But the first, I remember the first movie that I like remember like going to see was The Phantom Menace at actually Lexington Green, when that old theater there in Lexington,
which no longer exists.
It doesn't exist anymore. R.I.P. That's enough reason to drink right there. So. But.
Which I will say real quick, that's okay because that movie theater sucked.
Yeah,
by the last 3 years of it, like all the speakers were blown.
Well, and even like when I went to see, like they played Star Wars in the good theater. Let's like that, the one good theater they had left, and that was in 1999.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, and so I can just remember seeing all of the prequels as a kid, going multiple times, 2, 3, 4 times in theaters. And then I saw Revenge of the Sith right when I got done with I guess I was in 5th grade when that came out.
I was in 6th grade.
So yeah. So I remember
we're a year apart.
Yeah.
Chad's it's keeping quiet.
Funny.
He's 2 years apart. But anyway. And so and then after that I saw the last day of school, and then I thought, okay, this is done. Like there's no more Star Wars. They've told the story. And then I guess throughout high school, I loved it, but I kind of I still had all these lightsabers and stuff like that. So whenever people want to do Halloween stuff with lightsabers, they're asked, "Hey, does anybody have any extra lightsabers?" And here I came. I remember one day because like I went to Lexington Catholic, and there was one day where they were like, okay, we need all these lightsabers, and so I brought maybe 8 that just casually because like there was a whole group of them that wanted to be like Jedi, and so I was just like, here, I have all these.
Did you ever get them back? Is my
yes,
question.
I did.
Okay, good.
Yes, I did. No, like I would make sure that I got them back.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then all of a sudden Disney got the rights back when I was in college, my freshman year, and I kind of, like I said, I kept it hidden a little bit, but then like as soon as they announced The Force Awakens that they were bringing out more movies, it just kind of like lit this fire under my ass that was like every day I was checking on different sites, like what can I find out about Star Wars? What can I find out about the movie coming out? And it just, I watched other shows, and it would eventually become this thing where I was writing a little bit, and I was writing for this website called Geek Feed, and this website that I write for now, Star Wars Newsnet, was always one of the sites that I would look at, just because they would report all the news on Star Wars, and so after I got done over at Geek Feed, because it wasn't going anywhere, so I just was like, I need to get out of this, and so I just emailed him, was like, hey, let's can I start writing for you guys? And he said, yeah. And so now that's led to writing for them and doing their podcast, the Resistance Broadcast. So it's led into something that I love doing and I get to do on a daily basis. And it's been a great journey, I guess. I don't know. And now now I'm here drinking bourbon, talking about Star Wars. I mean, it's good. Yeah, absolutely.
So do you watch the cartoons and everything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm a
Rebels
big canon junkie. Yeah. I'm actually in my when I have a little downtime, I like reading all the canon stuff. And I've been for Christmas I got the Art of the Last Jedi, which has been, oh my god, there's so much cool stuff in there. So much like I'm one of the those people that like when I love something, like as much as I love Star Wars, I would know every single thing about it, like what led to this decision and that decision, and just this just the concept art behind it is incredible to me. Yeah. So I'm very up to date on the canon and all that stuff.
Nice.
Had you been up to date on everything before Disney acquired the rights and then erased?
No. I read a couple of like young reader stuff growing up. They had like this Anakin and Obi-Wan like apprentice that like tried to fill in the gap between 1 and 2. But other than that, like nothing. And quite frankly, I know some people will say like, oh, this is heresy or whatever. It didn't bother me one bit that they got rid of the old EU. Because it was some of the stories just felt so disconnected, and with the exception of maybe Timothy Zahn's Thrawn stuff, I didn't think that it was all a cohesive story, and George even was like, this isn't my story, and so so it's a separate thing. So some people, like, there was a petition at one point to like keep the old EU and get rid of this new stuff, which.
We'll get to the new stuff later on in the episode too, because I have a whole portion on what we thought about The Last Jedi.
Okay, perfect. So that's my pathway into Star Wars.
Nice.
Chad, your turn.
Well, I'm a little bit older than you guys, so
it's like 2 years, 3 years.
yeah, something like that. I wasn't around when the first Star Wars was in theaters, but I was around when some of the other ones were in theaters. Not that I was still too young to remember them, but luckily I have a sister who's about 6 years older than me, and she's really into it. So, her being my only sibling, and she's 6 years older than me, I, looked up to her. I wanted to be interested in the things that she was interested in, and Star Wars was just, I didn't have to try. It was just, it was a natural fit.
It was available.
Yeah, so we had all of the original toys. Yeah, in my house.
Like the Kenner toys?
Yeah, the Kenner toys. Gosh. And still do.
That's really... that's so cool.
Yeah. No, I have an original Jabba the Hutt, even with Salacious B. Crumb and everything. I had the Ewoks tree, like, play set.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff.
Wow.
And it's all, have
That's
it
awesome.
all still.
Have you watched The Toys That Made Us yet?
That's
haven't.
I had no idea.
That's on my list. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like apparently Kenner was from Cincinnati and like all this stuff like I had no idea.
Yep.
So you should really check it out. I don't want to spoil it for you, but it's amazing. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. So I always had the love of Star Wars. Things were kind of tough in the 90s before it was announced that they were going to make the prequels. Now I can already sense this is going to be a good podcast because I have an undying love for Star Wars, but there's things that I don't like about it.
I think that's fair too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think every fan
sure, absolutely.
has
So
problems with
I only say that because I have some friends who it almost seems like Star Wars can do no wrong no matter what. So the
original
prequels,
trilogy, like Star Wars can do no wrong, or just like
I
know
no, just Star Wars the brand in general.
Gotcha.
I love where this is going. By the way, this is going to be a great episode.
So the prequels, I was super pumped for it, and then I was let down because I was like, well, that wasn't. Of course, I was a lot older when I saw them than you guys. I was like, that wasn't
not too much.
Not too much. It's like that wasn't the best, and then it didn't get better, and then when Revenge of the Sith was the best of the prequels, but still
Definitely
not that great.
I disagree with that, but we'll get into that. We'll get into
Wow,
that.
really?
We'll get into that.
Wow.
We'll talk a little bit about it later. But
And then I'll be honest with you, when it was announced that Disney was buying Lucasfilm, I was very apprehensive. I was nervous. And some people were like, but we're going to have Star Wars forever for the rest of our lives. And I'm like, okay, but what if they're bad? What if they're bad?
Yeah.
That would...
That was... I forget... I mean, The Force Awakens completely blew me away, but that, like, I had that thought, too. Because, like, if this sucks, like, what am I going to do? Like, is this going to keep going, or...
Yeah. And even though, George Lucas, a lot of people blame him for the prequels, still, like, it's Lucas's story. It's his thing, and he's given away for other people to tell the story, and I just don't know how I feel about it. And but as far as the level of fandom goes, some friends of mine have made fan films, things like that. Been on many a podcast talking about Star Wars and so forth. In fact, I have two buddies who do Inside the Force, which is a podcast.
Cool.
Awesome. And things.
Nice.
So the fandom is real.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
Definitely cool. Well, I knew about... I think when I first knew about Star Wars, I wanted to learn everything about it, which I did. And so before I ever saw a Star Wars movie,
knew the whole lore
I
behind
knew
it?
everything.
Wow.
So, like, everything was ruined for me. Which kind of sucked. But, like, at the same time, in the late 90s, early 2000s, it was very common knowledge, for example, that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's father.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
So, this entire episode is just going to be straight spoilers.
Heavy spoiler.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you haven't seen any of the Star Wars movies and don't care, you're
Sorry.
probably not listening.
Sorry.
But yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I have a strong opinion about the order that it should be shown to kids who haven't seen it.
I think this... I have a...
Yeah.
Is this the machete cut
Yeah.
that you're...
Well, no, it's not even that. It's just some people say, well, you should show them in the order. Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I don't
and I'm
think
like,
so.
no,
I used to
why
think that
would you
because-
deny your kid the revelation that happens in episode 5? Why would you do that to them?
My girlfriend had not seen a single Star Wars movie until I started dating her, which, by the way, our first date was watching all the Star Wars movies. God bless her.
Wow.
I knew she liked me. She said yeah. Like, I proposed that date, and she said yes. So I'm like, okay. So we watched 4, 5, and 6, and that's kind of how I feel like you should do it, where you should do 4, 5, and then... People
1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3. Like I don't like. I used to be like, it's George Lucas's story, and he wanted to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Do it in that order. But like, I agree. Like, why take that away? That's one.
Sure.
That is the greatest reveal in all of cinema history, and you're gonna take that away because you see Hayden Christensen wailing around and crying because
he hates sand.
Because it's rough and coarse and gets everywhere.
Ugh, I hate that line so much. But like I said, I kind of knew everything about it before I went into seeing even A New Hope. And So I was already really excited for what I was about to see. And once I did see it, like my entire world changed. I mean, I was completely blown away, not just by the characters or, you know, the world that was built, but just, you know, the storytelling or the little minutia that went into each second of
Exactly.
of these movies. And by that point, Revenge of the Sith hadn't come out. So I had all this time to kind of build up what Revenge of the Sith was going to be like. We're going to finally see, you know, the actual descent of
Into the dark side.
Yeah. And I
absolutely.
was so excited. And Revenge of the Sith rather was the first movie that I saw twice in theaters too, because like I really did go into it with rose-colored glasses and came out, you know, very pleased with it. And I mean, I enjoy that movie a whole lot. I haven't seen it in a while, but and I'm sure that, you know, going back to it now, it probably isn't going to hold up as well. But regardless, at the time, it was a big turning point for me, because that was where Star Wars again was kind of the first thing that I really got really entrenched in. And I credit that to my knack for, and I'm going to use this word, and it's going to sound negative, but I'm not using it that way, obsession.
Yep.
You know, I mean, Star Wars was really my first obsession. And you know, again, to kind of bring it back to bourbon, you know, I give it that for, you know, my love of anything that I kind of hook onto.
Absolutely.
Speaking of bourbon, my glasses.
Yes, let's drink something else.
That is an excellent transition. Thank you.
Well, what did you guys think of the bullet? I don't think we talked a lick about it.
Well, I'll let Bill go first.
Well,
we didn't talk anything about it.
It's good bourbon. I mean, like yeah, it's good.
Okay.
What insight! Bill's here for Star Wars.
I'm a connoisseur, as the kids would say.
You know? No, I think it's good. You know, it's one of those. I think it's may possibly sound weird, but it's one of those that I think is better when it stands alone.
As opposed to
when you start putting it next to other ones, I think its charm kind of wears off, and I just know that from experience of doing blind flights with it. It's never fared real well. It's always, you know, kind of been middle of the pack, but you know, it's a 90 proof, pretty affordable bourbon, not too expensive.
Definitely.
So you know, you gotta kind of put those caveats with it when you're talking about it, but. I do love higher rye bourbons, and this is actually probably of these three that we have here our highest rye, I believe.
the Bullet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
So that's great about it. It has a nice, I think, kind of a pepper spice to it, as opposed to like some that have like a clove spice, and sometimes I kind of lean more towards the clove spice because I like more of like a barrel influence and things that kind of go darker on the back end and like chocolatey or nutty. But it's definitely a solid offering, and it's great in cocktails.
Yeah.
Oh, I completely agree. And you talked about this too recently, about how much you love, or not love necessarily, I don't want to put words in your mouth. How much you like Bullet Rye in an old fashioned.
Yeah.
Or just rye in general in an old fashioned. Sorry.
Rye cuts through really well, and that's why the high rye bourbons cut through in a cocktail. But the Bullet Rye is 95% rye, whereas we're learning a majority of ryes are the minimum of 51% in the mash bill. So I think a lot of people want to make their rye for the bourbon drinker, and Bullet Rye is a rye for the rye drinker at 95%. So just go a little shameless plug. Go watch our Rye Flight 80 to 90 proof.
Yep.
Because the Bullet Rye is in there and up against 4 other ryes. Kind of see how it fares.
Just quickly looking, Bullet is rumored to be 28% rye. Wild Turkey is 13%, and Wild Turkey 101 is what we're going to be drinking on next. And then I haven't had a chance to find the old Grandad 114 yet, but we'll get there when we get to the
it's funny
the review portion.
You look at the Buffalo Trace supposed mash bills, because also they're not like really released that I know of, but their high rye are things that are 10% and above. So for something to be like 28, that's really high rye.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is great.
Again, I love Bullet. Like I said, it was my go-to for a long time. But it is one of those where it was kind of my training wheels bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like to say that was what launched me into exploring other things.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't put this episode out yet. It's been kind of sitting in the back catalog. But the first time that I went to OBC in Lexington, we had Iverson as our waiter, who's a fantastic waiter at this restaurant in Lexington. And I was like, I don't know what to order. I was like, I want Bullet, but I also want to try something else. And he was like, well, I have something for you then. And it was their pick of the Four Roses OBSO, which was another high rye recipe from Four Roses. And that kind of was, again, a game changer for me because it was, I learned that there was other stuff out there other than Bullet and Makers and, all the stuff that you kind of have to wean off of in order to enjoy different bourbons.
'Cause that's probably, what, a 35% rye?
I think so.
OBSO?
Yeah.
I think their high rye is at 35%.
Yeah. I love that OBSO, though.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had it in a long time. But I dream of it fondly from time to time. But, I mean, Bullet's always been kind of a mainstay for me. It's real smooth and what's the word? Unencumbering, I guess.
It's a good word. I like that word.
I don't have to try too hard with it, I guess. It's not overly complex.
Big word for a second bourbon. Yeah.
But we're moving on to Wild Turkey 101, which, Chad, this is one of your kind of go-to bourbons for not just everyday sippers, but when you go out.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think, it being 101 proof, you can a lot of times find it for $5 at a bar.
Yeah. Yep.
Where others that are 90, 80, 90 proof are also $5. So if you're looking for proof per value, I mean, it's definitely in Wild Turkey. And it just goes to show you, like, I'm definitely onto the higher proof stuff now as I've evolved in my bourbon journey. The 81, I don't care for the 81. Wild Turkey 81 just doesn't do it for me. So it's really that 101 that, much like we're just talking about Old Fitzgerald. Bottled and bond at 100 proof, so much better than the prime at 80.
Yep.
It's just when they don't water it down to the lower proofs, the flavor really gets to shine through.
Yep.
And I think that's what's going on here with the Wild Turkey 101.
Definitely. Bill, you've had Turkey 101 before?
Yeah, this was actually my girlfriend's dad. This was his favorite bourbon. So like he kind of turned me on to it, and
nice.
Yeah. So because once again, when I met him, it was still just Makers and maybe Bullet, and so he turned me on to this, and so yeah, absolutely, Wild Turkey. I mean, it's like you were talking about Bullet. I think it's a great kind of mixing kind of cocktail, whether it be I like mine is a highball where I like to mix ginger ale with a little bit of lemon and a little bit of Wild Turkey. So
nice.
That's the go-to.
Oh, yeah.
Going from Bullet to the turkey, I think has been really nice because it almost smoothed out some of the not that Turkey 101 is a coarse bourbon, but it smoothed out some of those edges that if I'm just drinking Turkey 101, I notice more. Now I'm enjoying more of the oak notes and the caramel, but there is also some mintiness in it a little bit. I mean, it's very very hidden, I think, on the far back of my palate. And Chad and I kind of differ with our palates, but
everyone's is different.
Yeah, but Sarah and I kind of line up a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I get more of like a leather. It's that dark, that dark type of spice. Some people might call it kind of a tobacco note in there. It's definitely that darker influence, I think, which is coming from the proof. This being a higher rye, this is one I would call more of a clove spice. It's kind of, you can akin it to a clove cigarette if anyone's ever taken a drag off one of those. Especially you breathe in air over the tongue and really just...
Okay, yeah,
absolutely.
I see that.
Absolutely.
It can also go towards like taking a bite of some chocolate, something kind of brittle.
Oh, yeah, I can see
I'm
that.
trying to pick up the mintiness, and I'm trying like.
Well, I think it's there. I think we all just kind of experience it a little bit differently.
Yeah. And for me, like I said, it sits maybe more in the finish, like on the very back of my tongue.
Okay.
Yeah. And some bourbons, if you give it a minute or two even before you go to your next drink, really let it set in.
Yeah, definitely.
And just kind of work around your tongue. You're going to get that stuff that you're not going to get until you've let it really decay on there and let it in there, which is really cool. I love doing that.
Yeah, I do
Sarah's
too.
always like going to the next drink. I'm like, well, hold on. Hold on.
Give it a
Enjoy
second.
this while we're doing
Let's
it.
let it show itself.
You've had to wait 2 months to open this bottle. You may as well enjoy it to the fullest of its extent.
The finish isn't gone yet. Let's wait till it's completely gone. But yeah, no. And the thing is, I used to not like wild turkey, or at least I thought. I mean, at one point, I think I legitimately did not like it. But then I'd made up my mind, and I said, I don't like wild turkey. Just not for me. And then we did our 50 under 25, and it was in there, and we were doing them blind. And it came up as the winner, and it moved on to the next round. And then it came up as the winner of that one, and it moved on to the finals. And I'm like, okay,
maybe I like this.
I like it. Taste change.
Just take the label off and just.
Well, I think when I had it first, I was still a much younger drinker, and during that time, my palate evolved and changed to where I can really appreciate it. Now I love it.
Mine has changed since I started drinking, so like that, I completely understand that.
Yeah, I wouldn't call Turkey 101 a beginner bourbon,
Yeah.
No, and we
get to graduate to.
Yeah, we've had this conversation before, too. And when I did my beginner bourbon episode with Tanner, I said I very specifically said I don't think Turkey 101 is beginner bourbon.
Yeah.
As correspondence flew in from that episode, as people were starting to recommend beginner bourbons, somebody said, "I can't believe that you didn't recommend Turkey 101." Because that was what and he said this was the first thing that I drank neat. And like that's fine, good on you.
Yeah.
But it's almost too spicy, I think, for a early bourbon drinker.
And 101 proof.
And it's 101 proof, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, see, there's the the whole dilemma is that like I don't want to give somebody Jim Beam 80 proof for their first drink of bourbon, but and I know you guys have talked about this until your lips have fallen off, but which is a very interesting visual if you think about it. But
I've not been able to feel my lips before.
But
go on.
But where is that middle ground?
Right.
With beginner bourbons, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think Wild Turkey's it. Or at least the 101.
No, I think something, I think maybe 86, 90 proof. That'd be good because you're still getting those flavors. It's not so watered down. I also think age, like Beam White Label being 4 years. Okay, it's 80 proof and it's 4 years. That's probably not going to be the best thing to give someone from the get-go. You want a little bit older, a little bit higher proof.
So not Beam Choice.
Well,
Well, I mean, I like Beam Choice quite a bit more than I do. I mean, so do you.
Yeah.
I mean, I know, not to spoil anything from your past episodes,
it's been
but
out for 2 years.
yeah, I know.
Plus, they don't make it anymore, so it's kind of a moot point.
Yeah, it's so hard to. And I mean, I got lucky finding that handle of it a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Star Wars.
So, do you like blue milk or green milk better?
I don't like the
that's the
presentation
question.
of green milk. I will say that much.
that was the most disconcerting part of the Last Jedi. It was just like, oh, he's gonna go. Oh nope, he's milking.
this is happening.
He's milking a cow. That's not what I wanted.
or whatever that
I know.
Yeah.
creature
Space cow.
was.
Yeah, space sea cow.
I did kind of like the mystery of blue milk.
Yeah.
But once you really start thinking of it, you do kind of have to understand that that's where
It's just
it's going to come
blue
from.
milk is literally
Bantha
bantha milk.
Oh, it is
Yeah.
bantha milk. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, we're not seeing the process behind.
Yeah, I mean that's
the acquiring.
if there had been
yeah.
a scene in A New Hope where they were just like, Uncle Owen or Aunt Beru were milking a bantha, I think a lot more people would be upset.
I don't remember being able to see any visible udders on the bantha, so you got to really part that hair and be like, where are they? Here they are.
You have to go on a journey, really, more than anything.
I'm going to hold the hair back. It's a two-person process.
You've got to really want blue milk.
See, that's where the prequels fell through, is we didn't see enough bantha milking.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I do want to talk about, because it's a relevant, it's more relevant than the prequels or everything. But I do want to specifically talk about The Last Jedi.
Okay.
I know Chad's thoughts on it.
Oh God.
I think I know your thoughts on it. So I want to break it down into 2 parts. We'll do 3 parts.
We'll do 5 parts.
We'll see what happens.
That's 8. Let's go.
Let's start out with what did we like about it?
Okay.
So, Chad, I'm going to let you go first on what did you like about The Last Jedi.
I thought it was visually a great film. Mm-hmm. I thought I liked the mix of practical effects and digital. I think they leaned more on practical when they could, and there wasn't any, besides one little scene that I can think of, there wasn't any what I would call erroneous digital, where it was just done
uncanny valley,
because
style.
they could do it and that.
Leia in space.
Well, no, I'm talking about one of the little guys at Canto Bight running from the Space Horses or whatever. He was kind of like, "Wah!" And it was way too... like the scene they added in the special editions of Return of the Jedi. The Jabba... Yeah, the singing part. And it zooms in on his tonsils or whatever, going, "Ah!" And there's some spit hanging from it. That is erroneous.
That is an absolutely necessary scene.
No, that is erroneous use of digital. Besides that one part in The Last Jedi, that was the only that went a little digital for me. They could have done it without. Yeah, the lay in space thing is that's wrong for another reason besides erroneous digital. So I liked it was filmed, cinematography on it. I thought it was beautiful.
Absolutely.
The music in it. John Williams did a great job with his new score.
And then, subtly adding different
Sorry.
Like the Falcon part where he inserted it into Crate, I thought was amazing. Where it went straight from like Rey's little her theme to duh duh duh.
Yeah. No, it was that was great. I thought the acting from everyone was an improvement from Episode 7. Our newcomers.
I think that's fair.
Daisy Ridley, John Boyega,
Oscar Isaac.
Oscar Isaac, thank you. Oscar Isaac Poe. I didn't mean to say Finn. And then Mark Hamill bringing it. Carrie Fisher bringing it. I thought the acting was great.
The guy who's in the Chewbacca suit now bringing it, not Peter
some
Mayhew.
Scandinavian dude.
Brought it. R2D2 brought it.
Not Kenny Baker. Was it Kenny? Did Kenny Baker actually do this one?
He died. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I knew he died, but I didn't know if he made it into this movie before.
I don't think there's a person in the suit anymore, or the canister or whatever. Whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Probably not for those scenes. Yeah. And that's just not needed anymore. So I thought all that was great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
good.
Period.
I know that there was going to be a butt after that.
No, that's what I was waiting for, the butt.
Yeah, we'll hold off.
We're not at the butt part.
Okay,
this isn't the butt part.
This isn't the butt stuff.
This is pre-butt.
No butt stuff.
No butt stuff right now. No butt stuff.
Bill, what did you like about The Last Jedi?
What I really, really liked about The Last Jedi, I loved where Rian Johnson took the story of Star Wars. I love, and we're talking spoilers, so
this is total.
Total spoilers.
100% spoilers.
I loved where it didn't matter who Rey's parents were, because that was a big thing after The Force Awakens. Like, okay, Luke is her dad, or Han Solo is her dad. It didn't matter. I think in what made Star Wars special the first time we saw it, or when everybody saw it for the first time, was that Luke was a nobody. He was a farm boy on Tatooine, and he wanted to do something better, and he wanted to become something better. And
he was also the son of Darth
Exactly,
Vader.
but we didn't know that at the time.
Right.
We did not know that. I think that
I see both sides of that.
What Ryan
for sure.
was going for was more of a, like what what Star Wars meant to him. Like we've all looked into the sun and like listened to the binary.
You shouldn't look into the sun.
Not directly into the sun. Yeah,
kids.
There you go.
Especially dual sun. Right?
Yeah, exactly. We've all looked to the horizon and wanted more. I love what he did with that. I love. There are just so many. The first time I saw it, it was just such a emotional like roller coaster ride. There wasn't. You didn't know where it was gonna go. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Just
I'm pouring a little bit for everybody else.
Absolutely. Yeah. So like, and even like I've seen it. And people are going to make fun of me. I've seen it 8 times.
Whoa! Wow!
8 times in theaters.
You weren't part of that.
No,
that collective. That
the
okay.
8 for 8 or whatever.
Yeah,
like I just I went.
So you're gonna see episode 9 times?
Yeah, exactly. I saw episode 7. Like I didn't mean to do that. It just kind of happened. But every time like I've seen it, I've enjoyed something different about it each time, and it's really kind of grown in terms of where I place it on my list. Each time, because like that first time I was like, what did I just see? Like there were so many different things, but I just
I'll talk about my first time seeing it here in a little bit, but
I really enjoyed The Last Jedi, and just count the amount of times.
Should have been 8 times.
I think it was 8
times.
Oh, okay.
That was,
I really
if it was, I didn't mean to make it 8 times.
But you needed 2 more brothers.
We'll go back to the tape later.
But I just think it's such a and I have a feeling we're going to get into it here in a little bit.
Good.
I think it's probably
probably a little more.
Probably the most complex and layered Star Wars movie ever. And I really enjoyed the characters, like he said, and I agree with everything he said.
But a little bit more, I think.
But a little bit more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of like I think Ryan really kind of honed in on what made Star Wars special the first time we saw it, and I love that.
Well, I want to back up a little bit here because before I talk about what I liked about it. Chad and I are both fans of Mr. Sunday Movies.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, yeah. I
and
love
his
that
podcast,
guy.
the Weekly
The
Planet.
Weekly Planet. I listen to that every week.
This morning, okay, good.
Yeah.
So you've been in the same hole that we've been in for the past 3 weeks with no new episodes.
Exactly.
Dying, waiting for it. But anyway, so this morning, on January 21st, 2018, he put out a very satirical video about
Star Wars is ruined.
About how Star Wars is ruined.
I watched that, yeah.
It is so funny because, I mean, he just lays into like all of the... What has kind of become like the ridiculous criticisms of the movie, that it just ruins the canon and it all this stuff. And I'm sorry if this is in line with any of you, but I wanted to.
It won't be
okay. But there are some incredible comments on this video, and incredible in the sense that these people don't understand what this video was about. For example, there were comments like, Kathleen Kennedy is cancer in human form.
No.
Or as long as they... Here's a good one. As long as they keep Dave Filoni, there is still hope. And still, although I wish Ryan Johnson, and there's a list, AIDS, gonorrhea, and several kinds of hemorrhoids.
Oh, God.
One miss, he spelled it on, but I'm going to give him a pass. One miss in 3 movies is still not that bad. Plus, they also have the Rebels TV series on the side, which, while not really impressive, gets the job done.
That's like...
And it's in its last season, though.
That's like how I want people to describe me. Like, impressive, but like gets the... Not impressive,
but I want him to get several types of hemorrhoids and any STI possible.
Impressive, but hemorrhoids. That's a T-shirt.
I think that's the name of the episode.
Yeah.
Impressive but hemorrhoids.
This is my impressive but hemorrhoids episode. Bourbon podcast, yeah. Where we kind of talk about Star Wars a little bit.
And hemorrhoids.
But anyway, it strikes me as very odd how there are so many people that... And I completely get the love for this lore. Mm-hmm. I really do. Because I also love it, but I guess I love it in a different way than some people do. And for me, everything that The Last Jedi got wrong doesn't outweigh everything that it got right.
Completely agree. Go.
Chad's being very patient, I think, in his... what you didn't like about
I think
it.
there is a very vocal minority of people that in like the Kathleen Kennedy is cancer or Ryan Johnson needs AIDS. That is the vocal minority.
He needs AIDS.
He needs it so bad.
That is the vocal minority talking, and when I say they're vocal, like they make it so that like the majority just completely looks like they're the
I think that's a very good point.
And so like the Rotten Tomatoes, like the audience score is 54%, while the movie itself is like 92% from the critics, which I would probably that's kind of where I lay in it.
In the 92?
In the 92
Okay.
kind of area. But yeah, like people, I think just. And I don't want to take away people's love of Star Wars because your love of Star Wars is completely valid. But some of them just need to stop crying because that is we laugh about that, but that is if that's your reaction to this movie that I want Kathleen Kennedy is a cancer and that Ryan Johnson deserves AIDS because of a movie. What are you doing?
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. And you know, a couple weeks ago, after a couple glasses of bourbon. I tweeted out, everybody needs to remember that Star Wars is A, just a movie, and B, is a series of movies that are directed at children.
George Lucas himself
it-
has said that Star Wars was made for 12-year-olds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was there at
Oh,
Star
were you
Wars
at
Celebration
Celebration?
when
Good
he
for
said
you.
that.
Really?
Yeah. And,
That's cool.
And I don't disagree with anything that you guys have said so far, except your rating of the movie. That's the only thing I've disagreed with.
I haven't given a rating yet of
Well,
the
okay,
movie.
well.
Nose palette price.
and like-
All right.
So, let's get into the rating then, I guess.
Well, I don't even want to put a rating on it myself.
So give me the butt portion that you
Okay,
were gonna get.
I'll give you the
What's give me the butt.
I'll give you the butt. I'll give you the butt.
Give him the.
Yeah.
give me the butt. Yeah.
Give me the butt. Give me the butt. So first of all, just let me preface by saying that I am not in that minority that you speak of.
Okay.
I wish
Completely.
and I think that's probably pretty obvious, right? I wish no ill harm on Kathleen
Kennedy
Kennedy or
and
Ryan
Ryan
Johnson.
Johnson,
That's
yeah.
silly. Now, I do agree with what you said about Star Wars is made for 12-year-olds. And we have to remember that. Or, you know,
Yeah,
both
We
Yeah,
played
did.
off of each
Yeah,
other
and the
about it,
thing
but
you
yeah.
said before was it's just a movie. And that's also correct.
Yes.
I completely agree with that. My problem is we've had a standard set with episode 4, 5, and 6. Even though they're made for kids, that was excellent storytelling.
Yeah.
And I find the storytelling in episode 7 very subpar. Very subpar.
Really?
Tell me about it, James Matlack Rainey.
Really?
Well, yeah. Did you ever watch that video?
I watched it today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you agree with a lot of the points?
Fill
Let's fill
me-
the
fill
audience
me-
in.
Yeah,
me.
I'll let you tell
I'm the
because
audience here.
Yeah.
So I don't consider myself to be an expert movie critic or even that great of an analytical thinker at times.
Me either.
So I will completely cite where I'm getting this from. And I have a friend who used to live here, moved out to San Diego. He's an author, and he's recently started a YouTube channel, and his first video was a review of The Last Jedi.
Okay.
I also want to take a quick moment to say if you can hear my air conditioning in the background, I'm very sorry. we're in my
background noise.
we're in my
It's all
kitchen
good.
as opposed to my office.
It's a
in the living
natural
room,
feel,
but
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Continue.
And I knew that after 2 viewings of the movie that I just didn't have this great feeling about it, that it wasn't hitting home for me.
Okay.
But I couldn't analytically put down what those reasons were.
And I had texted you right after you saw it, or not right after you saw it, but right after I saw it, because we saw it on the same day. We saw it
Yeah.
on that Thursday that it came out.
Yeah.
And I think what you said to me was, "I'm not ready to talk about it yet."
Yeah.
And
Well,
not like you were upset or like you know.
it was the same thing with episode 7. The first
Yeah.
time I watch it, I'm nervous because again, I was skeptical about Disney buying
Yeah.
Lucasfilm.
Yep.
I was
That's
the first
fair.
time I watched it, I was nervous, like they're
That's
going to
fair.
wreck it somehow. They're going to wreck it. And then episode 7, like, okay, now I can go, and I saw episode 7 3 times. It was like I can go back and I can watch this and actually enjoy it. So the same thing with episode 8. First time I watched it, I was very nervous. The second time I watched it, I could actually watch it. So
Right.
that's why I wasn't ready to talk about it.
Yeah,
But
that's fair.
the things that my friend Matt said in this video, all of a sudden it was like, yes, that's what I've been feeling, but I couldn't voice it. So if anyone would like to watch this video, it's about 15 minutes long.
I'll link it below too in the description.
YouTube.com/ James Rainey. I think he's been able to name his channel now because he's got his subscribers up. It is inherently a flawed story, and what he uses is pretty brilliant. It's, I think, what he calls the kid test. You watched it more recently than I have. Mm-hmm. The kid test. If a little kid was to ask you, why did that happen?
What's going on? Who is that? Why did they do that?
Why did any question, if you can't express it, if you can't answer it logically, like, well, it's because of X, Y, Z. If you're like, because they needed to further the story, or they needed to set this up, or they needed this to happen for the sake of the story, if it doesn't pass the kid test, then there's problems with the story.
And he argues, too, that 4, 5, and 6, and to a lesser degree, the prequels do pass that, almost with flying colors. In that there is, and I think very specifically what he said is that the kid test eliminates the need for there to be any interruption between point A to point B. In that you know where the story starts and you know why it got to the ending that it did.
Yeah, so like, for example, how can they all of a sudden track them through hyperspace? Well, they just needed to be able to find them. There wasn't any, and if there were scenes put in the movie to where they had set that up to where it's something that you were kind of, and yes, I know, it was in Rogue One.
You took my, I'm glad that you took that immediately. You didn't even question it. You already knew.
No, yes, it's like, it's meant to be like a toss-away line in Rogue One, but it's like this Easter egg, but that, besides the Uber fans, like,
you're not going to realize.
You're not going to know that. And if they had made a storyline in Episode 8 that was like, this is something we're developing, we need to get onto their ship to put this thing on there so we can track them, but it just comes out of nowhere. Like, they can track us through hyperspace.
And in support of that, too, Rogue One takes place about, 30 40 years
before.
It takes place 5 minutes before Episode 4.
Is a valid point, and I will give it to you.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
how do we know space technology?
Yeah, exactly. We're talking about a galaxy far, far away.
I know, but we're talking about storytelling
and minutia. I think that's a fair point.
Good storytelling. So the fact that it just, how can they track us now? Well, they develop something. They can track us now. Okay.
Yeah.
We're running out of fuel. Wait, when did fuel in the Star Wars universe become a thing? Because we needed to be a thing for the story. The Millennium Falcon used to jump to hyperspace all the time whenever they needed, and that's how they would get away. But in this story, they needed to not be able to get away, so they made fuel a thing.
I just want to say I love that this is how this conversation is going. By the way, and I don't mean to interrupt.
They needed Holdo to not be able to tell Finn about things because they needed to go off on this. Poe.
I'm not here for correcting.
The bourbon works. To go off on this side mission. So we're going to even have her do the shifty eyes, like, oh, you figured out we're fueling up the escape pods? Like, she's trying to hide it. Just so they could go off on this mission that'll get more people killed. And then my biggest thing is we're going to take Luke Skywalker's personality, his heart, who he is, never backing down, and because of the thing with Kylo, we're going to throw that away and make him a coward.
I don't think that they did throw him away, though, because at the same time, even on the island, you see flashes of Luke. You see, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is when Luke is on the Millennium Falcon and R2 comes in. And he's like, I'm not coming back. And
that was the best
scene.
And
then you show Leia, which got him into it in the first place.
Yeah.
And then he goes and okay, 3 lessons, whatever. So I think the end of the movie, sure, he's grumpy and he's different, but we haven't seen him in 30 years. I mean, this is truly the first time, besides the end of The Force Awakens, we've seen him. So in that amount of time, some amount of growth, some amount of differences can happen. And
sure.
I've seen a point on Twitter recently that Luke took after his father figure, Owen, which I'm not 100%. He was grumpy and all that stuff where he would just I don't agree. I don't buy into it either, but I saw it. I thought it was worth mentioning. But I think at the end of the movie, And even though it introduces new force powers or whatever, that doesn't bother me.
But it wasn't introduced in
But at the so
Last Jedi. It was introduced in Rebels.
true, fair point. But
Thank you.
But at the end of the day, Luke Skywalker still became a legend. He became he became what the galaxy needed, and sure he died, and sure he went through all these hoops and everything, but he's still Luke Skywalker, and he's still he rubbed his shoulder off, or he got all the dirt off, or whatever. So it's to me, I think it's fully in character to Luke, and the reason I love Return of the Jedi as much as I do, and why it's my favorite Star Wars movie, is because he is that symbol of hope, and he stays true, and he's the Redeemer, and I think he still does that.
Well, I think as much to that point too, we have to identify Luke Skywalker as the flawed hero.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah, and he's always been that. He's
struggled, exactly.
Which is why I don't like Rey, because she has zero struggles. But I'll say this.
I think she did prior to us knowing her.
I 100%.
I would say this about Luke.
I 100% disagree with your Rey point. But
well, I'll say this about Luke. We did see him. We saw him in the various versions of flashbacks when he was searching Kylo's mind and saw the evil in him. And again, also bad storytelling. Snoke was just he was
Snoke throwaway character.
He was there to be there. He was there because he needed.
The Emperor was a throwaway character before we saw him in the prequels. So I mean that's kind of.
I think that, but I kind of agree with that too. In that the Emperor was, but okay, I fall very firmly on the fence with that opinion, and the reason is because. Up until
this is good.
This is pretty great. Yeah, up until Episode 5, we hadn't really seen the Emperor.
Yeah,
we had been told of the Emperor, and so we knew that there was this looming force of evil in the Star Wars galaxy that was present, and so we knew that there was something that was going to be. I'm going to get on my mic a little bit more. Sorry. We knew that there was something that was going to eventually hit the fan. In terms of the storytelling. And we got to Episode 6, and you know, things did eventually become very prevalent in terms of, you know, a dire battle between good and evil. We were also given in Episode 7 a very vague essence of the bad guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Quote unquote, the bad guy. But he was presented a little bit too early, I think.
Similarly to how the Emperor was presented in Episode 5.
Very true. Very true. But his story arc, to me, is more of a straight line with a blip about 3/4 of the way through it, and then it just cuts off. And I think that they could have extended him a little bit more. And sure, Rian Johnson has said he wasn't the important part of the story. I get that. You're a storyteller. But I think we as Star Wars fans expect there to be the depth that we have grown accustomed to. And, you know, a lot of that has come through in, you know, Marvel Comics or, you know, the less so now because they're not canon, but the expanded universe novels or whatever.
And I fully expect there to be some type of Snoke comic or,
I'm sure there
some
will be.
kind of.
I'm sure there will
I think
be.
the next animated show or next show that they try will either be the Old Republic or it'll be Luke's Jedi Academy, which will we'll talk a little bit more about Snoke.
Yeah, but we can't rely on that. Because most people are only going to see the movies. You know, again, we got to talk about the general movie going on. But I wanted to continue to talk about Luke. He was this idealistic farm boy who struggled and overcame things and could not be turned. And then he starts to rebuild the Jedi Order. He has this conflict with Kylo. And then once, you know, he has for a split second a thought about killing him, and then he immediately regrets it. But Kylo faces him, and then Kylo goes on to kill some of the Jedi trainees and recruits the others to become the Knights of Ren. Yeah, thank you. Water refill.
Refilling water.
Drink more water. And then once that happens, he shuts himself off from the Force. Mm-hmm. He goes and becomes a hermit and goes to Ahch-To to die when his sister Leia is still in the rebellion, the resistance. Mm-hmm. His best friend Han is out there. People are risking their lives for this cause.
As far as he knows.
And he is, well, if he didn't turn himself off from the Force, he could completely know. So then he goes to this island to die, and he gives up. And that is not Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker does not give up. Yes, he had a little bit of change at the beginning. I'm going to go off as a Force projection and give them time
I don't
to escape. But that is not... Luke Skywalker does not give up. And he gave up until, basically, as you mentioned, R2 showed him the projection to get him back into things. But he went there to die, and that is not Luke Skywalker.
Okay, I don't think that he gave up. And I think
he said he did. No, he went there to die.
He went there to die, but I think he went there, and I think Ryan has said this, because he didn't feel like... he felt he was doing more harm by being in the galaxy.
So he went there to not be a problem.
Exactly. He went there to not be a problem. He thought he was doing more good, which is the hardest thing that he could possibly do. And when Ryan started writing this, that's what he wrote down. What's the hardest thing that each character could go through for this movie? And Luke being away, Luke Skywalker, who redeemed his father, who wanted to be in the action, who ran into Cloud City without being ready. The hardest thing he could do was to just sit and not be a part of the action.
That's a very interesting point.
That's an interesting point that can easily be argued. Yeah, that's hard, but it's also cowardice.
I don't think...
The hardest thing he could do is to correct where he went wrong and go and face Kylo. And go and face Snoke, since he knew about Snoke by searching his mind. Okay, there's this new threat in the universe. There's this new Emperor. I helped essentially create Kylo. Mm-hmm. It's my responsibility to go and fix it.
And I see that too, because
protect my sister, protect my best friend, protect everyone that I care about.
And I think
instead he shut himself off from the Force.
I think he did in the end, though.
He did in the end, but he was ready to die.
So much.
He was ready to die, but if we're talking about the storytelling element, at the end of the story, he does all that.
So why did Mark Hamill, who knows Luke presumably better than anyone else.
I know where this is. I know exactly where this is going.
About me?
But at the end of the day, what did he say? He was 100% wrong about his initial gripes with what Rian Johnson did.
Because most of that interview has been spliced and put out into the internet. That's the first part of the interview, is where he went to Rian Johnson, and then the second part of it is that he came around to.
And that's at the beginning, before the movie came out, I was a little bit concerned that Luke Skywalker fundamentally disagrees with the way Rian Johnson wrote Luke Skywalker. But at the end of the day, the end quote was, "But I was wrong, and I admit that I was wrong."
Yeah.
And so
Disney told me to say I'm wrong.
No.
Now here's where I fall kind of in the middle of all of this, though. My thought, first off, and I have two main points. The first is that if he went through this character arc, and sure, we all go through changes as human beings, and at the core of this story, it is about a human going through changes. Right. Luke Skywalker, despite all of his great abilities, is still a person. Why did he shut himself off from everything? And I get that part of it.
Because he was a legend, like you said.
I understand that part of it, though. I very much do. I kind of feel like he should have become something more, or become the icon that he was destined to be.
And I feel that. If the movie had started and it was okay, I got the lightsaber, I'm Luke Skywalker, I'm gonna run everybody down, this is gonna be awesome, I would have yes, that's what I want. Yeah. But at the same time, he was doing what he thought was right.
Yeah, so, and to wrap up my first point too, that's kind of what I enjoyed, is seeing all of Luke's character development over the first 3 movies condensed into one movie, and seeing that in the end he understood that he was Luke Skywalker. Yeah. And I think you touched on that too, is that he, by the end of the movie, knew that he had a responsibility as Luke Skywalker.
Right.
That being said,
oh God.
I am going to contradict myself in that these are movies that are written by a person. Write a better scenario.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing that goes back to Man of Steel.
Ooh.
Man of Steel, everybody said, who was involved with that movie, and not everybody, I don't mean to lump everybody into that category, but, and spoilers for Man of Steel.
Spoilers for every movie that's ever existed.
Yeah. At the end of Man of Steel, Superman snaps General Zod's neck. Mm-hmm. And Zack Snyder, I think, has said, well, that's what he would have to do in that situation. Why not write a better situation for this character that has been lauded for so long as being a beacon of truth and justice and
the American way,
virtuosity? You know, and I don't want to talk about Justice League by any means because I don't want to talk about that movie. My point is that I think that the same ideal applies to Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have these expectations that probably should be lived up to in this canon, in these storylines. And I'm not saying, I really do enjoy The Last Jedi. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was a movie that I didn't, and like I said, the things that I didn't like didn't outweigh the things that I did like. You know, I have enjoyed it the 2 times that I've seen it. I've come away from it both times. Well, that's a dumb comment, but the second time that I watched it, I came out of it liking it more than I did the first time. And I think it was because I was able to enjoy it for being a movie, more so than me like sitting there and critiquing everything that was happening or being afraid of what could have happened. All that being said, if you are in that position, I think that you need to elevate yourself to a position of writing what is best for the canon.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that can be a little bit.
It's vague.
It's subjective.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It is subjective as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Ryan Johnson thought was the best situation.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
I mean, and even like,
and then it becomes the viewer's opinion on whether they agree with it or not.
Right.
I don't
Definitely.
agree with them. You do. You know.
Yeah.
And
Bill
we just
Sheehy's
have to-
episode 8 is very different from Chad's episode 8 or Perry's episode 8.
Yeah.
So I mean, it
Well, I mean,
right.
if we're still on the topic of things, we listed the things we liked.
Yeah.
Let's list the things that we didn't like. I know I've already spoken.
Yeah.
That. I have some more, but I would like to hear the things that you didn't like.
I didn't like specific.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to look past it, but I think there are Leia's whole scene in space is a little too much for me.
It's been
honestly.
dubbed the Mary Poppins scene.
The Mary Poppins scene. And like,
when we already had that from Yondu.
and like exactly.
I'm Mary
exactly.
Poppins, y'all! That scene so much.
That was in stereo.
Oh, I love that scene. Anyway, sorry.
And there was no...
Is he cool? Sorry.
There was no good way to deal with Carrie Fisher's death in this. But I feel like you have Luke Skywalker dying, but you don't have Leia dying. I think you could have still had that scene at the end where Luke and Leia have their scene together.
This is going to play into, too, after we're done with what we don't like, I want to talk about where we see
Get going from here.
it going.
Yeah. And, you know, we all read that they didn't want to alter her
Yeah,
performance.
and I 100% agree with that, but, like, at the same time, like, it makes it easier for JJ when he comes in for episode 9 to take it into a completely different place. But now he's got, as opposed to, and we talked about this in, we're talking about it this week in the Resistance broadcast with our Star Wars war, what to do with Leia after 9. Subtle plug, but
we'll get to some
plugs aren't subtle.
I know, exactly.
We'll get to some plugs later on too.
But like, what do you do? Like, besides maybe say, like, in the crawl of episode 9, Leia is dead.
And I think that's exactly what's
and that I completely agree.
And they'll write a story, you know, that comes out in the comics where
and Claudia Gray will write it in a novel, which she's great. A little plug for her. But
Do you get $2 every time she sells an
I
apple?
hope so. I want some of that. I want some of that Del Rey money.
$3.50.
You know, $2.50. $2.50.
I don't know. I just give him that $3.50. Woman, you can get no $3.50. All right. That's my impressions for the podcast.
But yeah, I think it's a difficult situation, but I think that you could have done something where Leia maybe wraps it up in episode 8 and then doesn't leave you torn down or tied down in episode 9, where it's just she's gonna get it's literally like it's just gonna be a line in the crawl that Leia is dead. Yeah. So instead of getting that final like heroic moment,
I mean, much like in episode 7, Luke Skywalker is missing, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. And like some people have suggested that maybe she'd take the place of Holdo. But then, like, you don't get that last scene with Luke, which is essential. I think. Like,
I think so
for
too.
sure. You can't get rid of that.
I cried during that scene. I mean, I'll be really honest about it. I mean, and it didn't quite hit me the first time that I saw it, because the first time that I saw it, I was, I just like I'd had a bad day. Yeah. You know, and I woke up that morning really excited, and then like day turned kind of sour, and I was like. And, like, I was still feeling, like, the emotions that were present during that scene, but it wasn't until the second time that I saw it, and I was like, oh my gosh.
No one's ever really gone.
Like, this is never going to happen again. Yeah. You know? And the gravitas of Carrie Fisher's death, not just in our world, but the Star Wars world, you know? I mean, that was as poignant of a moment, I think, as you could have had.
Absolutely.
During
well,
that movie.
my biggest criticism of episode 7 was they didn't take the opportunity to get the original 3 back together.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's
such a lost opportunity that'll never happen.
No.
I agree. And even though like I'm willing to accept the version that we got, it just that's the one thing where I'm like, really, you can't give me Luke, Han, and Leia together one more time.
I get that.
But exactly. Well, let's get some OGD 114.
Okay.
Is it the review portion?
And I'm going to talk about more things I didn't like.
Well, if we're gonna do that, because I want to save the Grandad for the actual review.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right,
do you want more turkey?
No, that's probably not a good idea.
Bullet?
No, turkey's fine. Yeah.
Look, man, go pick you something out nice.
No, it's all good. It's all
No. We talked recently about Old Pogue. Do you want to have some Old Pogue? It's not high rye, but
no. Let's stick to our vertical here.
Okay.
So if I can just get this out without
I mean,
without any blowback. I don't think that besides Rey's parents' issues, that she had much of a struggle in either of these movies.
And you touched on this earlier, too.
Yeah. Luke, we've seen it with Luke. Luke struggled. He went to Dagobah. He was taught by Master Yoda. He couldn't lift the X-Wing. He could barely lift the rocks. And then here comes Rey, who has already beaten Kylo in Episode 7 in a lightsaber battle. So any other subsequent battle is, it's just the rematch.
I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish.
She was like I said, was able to beat him in Episode 7. Episode 8, she got the 3 lessons from Luke. We only got to see 2. I know 3 were filmed. Yep. One was a deleted scene, but they were very much him saying, "See, this is why the Force doesn't matter. This is why the Jedi were wrong." They weren't really lessons in a sense. It was more him trying to prove his point. And yet, at the end of 8, she's able to lift all these rocks with. She still has not been trained. In all intents and purposes.
I will give you that because I agree. She has no training and she's able to do that.
Where's her
that's
arc?
A very
where's
good
her
point.
flawed character? Where's her character flaws? She's paper thin.
So many people too are willing to label her, and I don't because I kind of hate the term a Mary Sue.
The guy who came up with that,
because it was definitely a guy that came up with
exactly.
that phrase.
And it was. It goes back to a guy named Max Landis who wrote that awful Netflix movie Bright and American Ultra, and I completely understand like where you're coming from, And in terms of like, and I agree with it to an extent with telling you within the confines of the movie itself. But we're dealing with someone who has been on her own from a very young age. And like a canon junkie like me, there are stories out there where she's been training or where she's becoming a pilot and she's really, really competent and she's great at it.
Much like Luke.
Exactly. And you add that with the Force. I mean, that
just comes to her naturally.
That comes to her very, very naturally.
Without any training.
But I mean, at the same time,
Anakin, I'm talking about from a story standpoint. What makes a better story?
I see that, but I'm looking at it as, and I know like the general movie going audience will look at it as just in the confines of the movie. But to me, it's the entire universe. It's the lore. It's the comics, the movies, the books, the games. And if you look at that, it makes sense because she struggled, and Kylo, when she fought Kylo, was not at the height of his powers. He had been shot throughout the entirety of The Force Awakens. We see that the bowcaster is this huge weapon that can blow away people, and Kylo got shot right here. Got shot right up visual. It got shot right in
visual reference.
Exactly, got shot right in the side, and he wasn't like fully powered. I mean, he couldn't be. We've seen the entire movie. Like it's just like this huge thing that like can explode anything, but he wasn't, and she was able to beat him because he wasn't full powered. And so and I understand where you're coming from, but to me it makes sense because she's strong in the Force, she's discovering her powers, but Kylo wasn't at his full strength, if that makes sense.
It does. I mean, yeah, I think his powers in Episode 7 kind of always fluctuated. Mm-hmm. He was able to stop a blaster in the first scene, but then later he's not able to, to beat Rey. But you say it's because of the blast, and I can appreciate that.
And even like when he fights Finn, like Finn was able to get one in, and he has no training. He has way less training.
Actually,
than Rey does.
He's a trained stormtrooper,
but like not trained
since birth. He's
not
very
trained. Not more trained than Rey.
Are you talking about the Force though?
I'm talking about with lightsabers and with melee weapons. He's not nowhere.
He's trained in melee weapons. I mean, I know he's a janitor.
I mean, you have to look at like
birth.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think what kind of the core of what we're arguing against the movie is explicit versus implicit. I mean, there's so much left to what is implied in not just The Last Jedi, but I think The Force Awakens as well, that we either have to fight for it to get the answers, or we have to assume.
The answers are out there, though.
Well,
true.
My whole thing is, for 4, 5, and 6, we didn't have to seek out any lore. We had it, and it was good enough, and that's good self-contained storytelling. The self-contained storytelling in Episode 8 is not as good as the original trilogy.
I think that's fair. That's fair.
And again, go watch
just a little
Matt
plug.
Rainey's, or James Rainey's thing. The 7, 8, and 9 should have been based more in the realm of the prequels than they were 4, 5, and 6, because things are cyclical. And they go, it should have been more, let's see the Jedi Order back in its heyday. It's being rebuilt. And then this tragic thing happens with Kylo. And then it becomes more tragic then.
And again,
it's
implicity versus explicity.
Exactly.
So, and I'll say this about, like, people will complain about the prequels. Oh, there's too much politics. We know everything that's happening. And 7 and 8, we have no idea what's happening politically. I mean, like, and to go to your point, to understand what's happening politically, you have to read a book by Claudia Gray about Leia, where she runs for first senator. That shouldn't be. They should have shown more.
It shouldn't be required.
Exactly. So it just, that's my main gripe with Episode 7 and with the sequel trilogy so far is we don't know what's the First Order reigns, but like what? Where's the New Republic? The New Republic, sure, the capital city got destroyed, but there were other systems that were a part of the Republic. Like, what? It doesn't just go away.
Right.
So that kind of leads into my final question before we wrap up the Star Wars topic of the episode.
Keep going.
Which is, where do we see the rest of the series going from here on out? And I was left after The Force Awakens going, whoever follows up J.J. Abrams can basically do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because he came back and he showed that all of these things in the Star Wars canon still matter. They're still relevant. We're going to pay homage to them, but then, we can go hog wild from here on out. So where do you guys think that the series is going to go after?
Well, can I put a little caveat in there to say I think 7, 8, and 9, from a storytelling point of view, is flawed from the fact that it gets different storytellers each time. Even though we have JJ on 7 and 9, George Lucas, having the whole picture in his head, he knew point A to point Z.
And sure, he wasn't the director on all 3 movies.
He was
the director on the first
story.
one. Yeah.
So the fact that, 8...
Bill's ready to retaliate any second now.
Yeah, that 8 was being... what was it? Either written or started filming like right after 7. It was like
it was already written.
The story was already written, and they continued. I think
because JJ looked at Ryan and he said, "I wish I could make this movie."
Started in 2014.
Yeah, so a lot of people say like Episode 8 is a big FU to JJ, even though I don't think that's true. But
you can swear on the show, you know that, right?
No, it's fine. I don't want to drop the big F-bomb. That it's like it's Ryan Johnson saying. First scene, lightsaber, toss over my shoulder. It's like this is this thing that he set up, that JJ set up, and he's just like whatever. So it's like not having 7, 8, and 9 written all together as a cohesive trilogy, I think hurts it inherently.
I think that's fair too, especially because, and we are so privy to information about how movies develop and function now. That is very much attributed to the fact that we knew that Episode 9 lost its director.
Yeah.
We were thrown into this limbo of we haven't even seen Episode 8 yet. What's going to happen with Episode 9?
And I think JJ was a great choice. I mean, he brought back Star Wars. And I know people don't put a lot of stock into box office numbers. It's the most successful domestic film of all time.
Yeah. And then it failed in China.
Exactly. I mean, but still, it still made almost $2 billion. So I think they got the right person to do it. I think JJ understands Star Wars, but at the same time a little bit nervous because seeing shows like Lost or any other shows that he's done, he doesn't really know how to end anything.
I think that's fair.
But at the same time, I think that he understands Star Wars, and I've said that I'm repeating myself. It's the bourbon talking. But anyway, my main point that I'm trying to get to, I don't even remember what I was trying to get to.
Where do you see the series going?
Where do I see? I think Episode 9 will end or will start 5 years after Episode 8 because I think that Ryan has left it so open-ended where Episode 8 started immediately after Episode 7. This, you can do whatever. I think you can go where Rey's been trained or she's been looking into training. She has a new lightsaber, which I think will take influences from the Skywalker lightsaber and will be purple. But
that'd be really interesting, actually. I would really enjoy that.
And
wait, how's that from the Skywalker lightsaber?
Just influences. Just like it's not like she's using.
No, not the color is influence.
Like,
but the blue,
like in Return of the Jedi, Luke's is influenced off of Obi-Wan's.
But just the
hilt, the hilt itself. Yeah, the hilt itself.
Not the color.
Yeah, not the color. Yeah.
It's like that's Mace Windu's color.
Yeah, exactly. So
but even if you look at the color of. I say Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, but it was only really Anakin's lightsaber. Mm-hmm. Literally colors mixed with
red and blue.
I mean, it's purple. So I could see that too. Is that she's trying to, but at the same time, she's not
it could be white.
And I would love to see.
It could be
like Ahsoka. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I would love to see. And I know we talked about this earlier. I would love to see them bring back Billy Dee to do since Leia's gone,
Wear Han's clothes.
Wear Han's clothes exactly. Wear Han's
jacket
clothes.
speculation.
I'm wearing his clothes again.
Wearing his clothes, and he's a general in the Resistance or the Rebellion, or whatever they call it. Well, whatever they call it, because
what do we have here? Colt 45.
he is still involved in the Star Wars universe. He did the voice
himself on the show,
in Battlefront 2. He did it in Rebels,
Rebels,
and he hasn't missed a beat. Like it's still Lando. So like he even if he's in a wheelchair or something, like bring him back.
Which
like,
is different from because I watch Force Awakens and I watch Harrison Ford and I feel like he just doesn't want to be there.
I
disagree.
I completely
disagree.
disagree. I'm with you on that.
I feel like
I think he started off like that. I was like, I'm going to do this.
After his plane crash,
It completely changed. I think you're right.
I saw him at Star Wars Celebration, and he was legitimately
He was smiling.
happy to
Harrison
be there.
Ford was smiling.
He was like,
in 2017.
I'm alive. I appreciate this life. I'm embracing the Star Wars thing. I'm going to convince them to kill me off in Episode 7.
So he doesn't have to deal with this crap ever again.
No, I feel like he embraced Han Solo in Episode 7.
I 100% agree.
Okay.
Much like he did in Episode
fair.
4.
Yeah.
You know, after that, he might have been like, "Oh, come on, let's get out of this."
That's
but,
not me. That's not me. Like me.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to completely.
And
No, it's all good.
I am
what have we been doing for
yeah.
the past hour and a half?
And I'll add, I'm very interested to see the dynamic that Supreme Leader Ren or Kylo Ren has with the entire First Order. What kind of leader he's become.
Kylo Ren's a punk bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Can I add? He is a punk ass bitch.
Punk ass bitch.
There you go. So
Fair
yeah.
enough.
So yeah, you kill Han Solo, that's what you get.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I hope to see it, and I really want them to conclude in a satisfying way because we're gonna get Star Wars for the rest of pretty much our
Eternity.
yeah. So
I just hope Luke comes back as a Force Ghost.
He will.
Obviously.
I
And I
think
really
he
do think he will.
He will, yeah.
I really do think he will. I think he's going to be more powerful because of it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope to see Yoda. I want to see Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan.
I would not
as a
mind
Force
seeing
Ghost.
Hayden Christensen as Anakin Skywalker. As
You
a
know
Force.
what? Why not?
Because it's
given the
technically-
right direction, why not?
Why
I mean,
not?
it's technically canon now,
Yeah,
too. I
exactly.
mean, if we're taking
Yeah.
episode, like
we
the
can't
Raven.
erase it, so embrace
No.
it. Put that on a t-shirt.
You can't erase
I'm
it.
giving you
Embrace
gold,
it,
man.
You really are. I don't remember the other one. But, yeah.
Hemorrhoids and
I can't remember what it was.
it's, oh god, we'll listen to
Okay,
it later.
so before we get to the review, I want to first say thank you guys for having a conversation that is completely different from anything that we've done on this show so far.
Thank you for inviting me. This
Yeah,
is awesome.
absolutely. And I mean, I don't remember how I came across you on Twitter or anything, but I was like, oh, this guy loves Star Wars. He put bourbon in his his bio on
And he
Twitter
lives here.
and he lives in Kentucky. We have to get him on the show. And I mean, it was just kind of all these things kind of easily layering over each other, and it you know. Hopefully someday we'll have you back on the show. Maybe just to talk about bourbon, or maybe in a couple of years with episode 9
get
coming out.
strictly bourbon next time because like I've talked too much about Star Wars.
It's better for the blood pressure.
I know.
So we've been drinking just high rye bourbons this show, and when I invited Bill to be on, I did a very quick Google search of 4 words: Star Wars and bourbon. I thought there's got to be some way to tie this in.
Sure.
And sure enough, there is. Did you guys know, and you might because you're part of the canon geeks, canon junkies,
geeks,
yeah.
geeks, whatever you
Canon
want
geeks,
to call
canon
it. It's all
junkies.
good.
That there is a Corellian whiskey
Yeah, I did know that actually.
from Han Solo's homeworld.
Yeah. We'll probably see it in the Solo film that's coming out in May.
How do you feel about that?
Just quickly?
Very quickly. Because I'm afraid it's going to be trash.
I'm excited for it. Ron Howard is my secret Hollywood dad. So
Is that the red hair?
It's exclusively the red hair. That's all it is. But yeah, I think it's going to surprise people, and you can hear my other thoughts on the Resistance broadcast.
I don't have high hopes for it.
I don't really either. I don't really either. I'll be honest.
Just to continue my role of being the exact
I think it's
opposite
gonna surprise
of Bill,
people, but that's just
I
me.
think it's going to be Bantha Poodoo.
But like Saboba.
Okay, so... Jeez. So, Corellian whiskey is reportedly to be...
Is it spelled with an E or without an E?
Everything I've found is with an E.
Yes. Oh, is it with? Okay.
Yes, with an E.
The good spelling.
It is supposed to be... Let me find the exact phrasing. It had an amber color and a crisp, woody taste. It was a favorite of the black market trade. It was said to be both woody and spicy in flavor.
I've been described that before.
So I figured that in...
Way to bury the lead, Pear.
I figured that in accordance with the woody, spicy Corellian whiskey, we would review a higher rye.
I want to review that.
Oh, I would love. It's one of those things where you're like, I'm never gonna get to try that.
It didn't come from America, so it's obviously not bourbon. So it's whiskey.
And then just quick side note. There was a specific batch of Corellian whiskey, NN182, that Han Solo called the rarest type, and he said that it was equivalent to, if not more valuable than, the Millennium Falcon.
Wow.
Well, I mean, that's a piece of junk. So, I mean, like, how valuable can it be?
And it was
some maneuvers.
It was very specifically Weirin's Reserve. Is spelled a couple of different ways.
Weirin's.
Yeah, I don't know.
That is... I'm really happy that you looked that up.
That's awesome.
But I was like, I got it. I was like, it can't just be a Star Wars episode. How am I going to tie this in? And I found that, and I was like, perfect.
Nice.
So anyway, we're going to jump into the review portion of the show, as we normally do.
This is where we actually rate it?
Yeah.
Get my notepad ready.
Yeah, Chad helped us out and said, you should really start writing this stuff down, considering the fact that you can't
there's no
remember.
paper.
Yeah, and there's no paper, so use your phone. Okay. Sorry. I am nothing if not unprepared for this. That's
show. My podcasting experience. I am nothing if not unprepared.
I can add. I looked up the mash bill for this.
Oh, fantastic!
OGD 114. It's 63% corn, 27% rye, and 10% malted barley.
Oh, okay.
And of course, it's made by Jim Beam.
Yeah. So we could have put it in between Bullet and Turkey.
Well, we went proof wise.
Yeah, and I mean that was the whole point, but. I'd reviewed both Turkey 101 and Bullet on the show before. We hadn't reviewed Grandad 114. Excuse me.
You say Grand Admiral 114?
Grand Admiral 114. Grand Admiral 114. Admiral Thrawn 114.
Grand Admiral Thrawn Reserve.
No, if I get a lot of money one day, I'm gonna invest in a distillery, and that's gonna be the bourbon I make.
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
So for anybody who is new to the show, if you've just stumbled upon this because of Star Wars, hey, welcome.
Yeah, drink more bourbon.
Yeah, no kidding. We have a review system on the show of nose, palate, price, and finish. Each category is out of 5, and at the end, we tally it up. Bill's enjoying it. Have you ever had 114 before?
I haven't. That's
okay,
nice.
Yeah.
That's really nice.
And at the end, we tally everything up to be a total out of 20. We are all three drinking out of Glencairn glasses. Chad's favorite glass.
Wrong.
Wrong.
Fake news.
This has become the President Trump impersonation podcast.
It has. And Star Wars and President Trump impersonation podcast.
So what do you guys think about the nose right off the bat?
I like it. It might be the favorite part. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a little too rubbing alcohol for me, honestly. Like
I'm getting like the nut.
I'm not
nuttiness.
Again, I fall right in the middle of between the two of
that Jim Beam nuttiness.
Mm-hmm.
Like I
agree.
Like here's the thing. I like the taste, but like that nose is just it's the rubbing alcohol that I like.
We should put it in a Norland.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've always found, as I said before, that the Norland glass gets rid of the ethanol on the nose. I do get a lot of the ethanol, but I very much can smell the.
Actually, it's worse when you do one nostril.
Really?
Yeah. I get straight ethanol when I do one nostril.
I get ethanol. I get ethanol and movie theater popcorn.
That is an interesting palate.
Nutty butter.
Nutty butter. So
Nutter butter.
maybe
the nutter butter.
I just get nutter butter.
The nose really for me. I mean, it's not terrible, but I mean, I definitely prefer the palate. To the nose.
Try resting your nose here on the top and smelling it. You get a little less ethanol.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's it.
Yeah. You try to get more.
Yeah, because you get more. You get your mouth closer to the actual glass.
Yeah.
Also, this is a very
open your mouth too.
This is a very staunch contrast between.
There it is.
Yeah, it's a very staunch contrast between what we've just been talking about and what.
Yeah.
I think the finish on it is really fantastic too. I mean, it is one of those that just kind of doesn't quit for me.
It's really smooth for me. I don't know about everybody else, but.
And this is a bourbon too that very. If you're seeing it for more than about $26 or $27, don't buy it because.
When I looked it up, hold on, I'll tell you where it came from. BreakingBourbon.com. It said MSRP 2017 of $29.
Ooh, really?
So it has gone up. You know when it was discontinued for a while.
Yeah.
It used to be under 25 because this was in our 50 under 25.
Oh, that's right.
Then
it
went discontinued. Yeah. It came back higher price.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Welcome to the bourbon market. But I've really only ever seen it around 26 or 27. But I think for MSRP purposes, we should probably put it at about a 30.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, because that's where it stands as of January 21st, 2018. So, Chad, do you want to go first, or Bill, do you want to go first?
I'm not done rating yet.
Well, let's keep enjoying it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Do you guys like Clone Wars?
I do.
I love it.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think it's a very interesting way of approaching the Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vocabulary of storytelling.
You can't do the entire war in a single movie, so it makes sense that you would do it in a TV series. And the fact that Dave Filoni and George Lucas, like himself, that was something that he had a direct hand in. And
right.
So, absolutely, I love it, and I've actually been rewatching it just because I'm trying to get more in tune with canon. Are you okay? Are you fine?
Oh, it's just a process.
It's the process.
He has a very specific tasting process, which you can hear more of on episode, was it 10 or 11? 10 of this show.
If you ever need an idiot to come on your show. That's
true.
I know a couple people, or you could just use me. That's either way.
Fair enough. Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Overall with this one, I don't get a whole lot of the rye though.
Mm.
I mean, it's not an overly spicy bourbon. It is a little bit hotter than what we've had today, but I think that it is.
What'd you say the bullet was? Rye wise?
28.
What's the 27?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. I mean, I'm all about I'm all about challenging, as we've established on this episode.
I mean, you're talking. Oh, math, my bane. 24 points difference.
Bill's making the Italian hands meme.
Baba da Boopy.
Is that what it's actually called?
I think so. I think the Baba da
Boopy.
The Baba da Boopy.
Baba da Boopy. Baba da Boopy. Baba da Boopy. Baba da Boopy.
My favorite though was the Italian Loch Ness monster, and it was just that hand sticking out of Blake Glass.
Hey, shut up, you face. Sorry for all the Italian people listening.
Oh no, yeah,
no disrespect, But
oh, you make fun of us too.
I'm Irish Catholic. It writes itself.
There you go.
Anyway, I'll go first because I've
all right.
I'm in charge of this here show. Nose, I think I'm gonna have to give a 2.5 because it doesn't really.
Out of 20?
No.
Okay.
Out of 5.
Okay, out
Sorry,
of 5.
yeah.
Okay. I got you.
It has a lot, but I have to kind of work for what I consider to be pleasant on the nose. Palate, I think I'm going to give. I'm straddling the line between 3.5 and 4. But that being said, I really do enjoy it, so I think I might just bump it up to a 4. Sorry, hold on. I have to text my wife back. So yeah, I'm gonna give the palate a 4 because it is really pretty complex, where it takes, what you kind of normally expect from a bourbon and kind of bumps it up a little bit. And repeat listeners know that if a bourbon has oak vanilla caramel on the palate, that is basically automatically a 3. And then I take things, but if something falls short, it's going to go lower than that. Sure. But that being said, when things start to kind of pile on with the palate, I enjoy them. I enjoy them more, and I start to rate them a little bit higher. Finish. Hold on, let me take another sip so I can.
It's real-time scoring.
In media res, as Tanner would call it. I think the finish I'm going to give a 3. Because a lot of what I enjoy on the palate carries over, but it doesn't. I think it evaporates a little too quickly for me. And then on price, I think I'm going to give it a 4 as well. Just because
price? Nose, palate, taste, finish, price?
Nose, palate, finish, price?
Oh. Nose, palate, finish, price.
Okay. Chad, let me ask you something. Is this your first time being on or listening to the show?
First time paying attention.
Last time we were on the show together, we had a little bit of bourbon, and that's, a story for another episode.
Absolutely.
And price, I'm going to give a 4 because it is one of those where for a high proof bourbon, and I think the complexity of it, you're going to have a hard time finding something that is really this accessible and this enjoyable, especially if you enjoy peanut butteriness or just kind of nuttiness overall. Go and find it. It is a little bit harder to find anymore. But there is no cheating, Bill.
Nose palate. Okay.
Finish price. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. Copy out of my notes.
I was just trying to get the categories.
So let me see. I had 8, 11. I gave it a 13.5 out of 20. And one of the things that I've tried to do recently with my reviews is you guys try to finish up your...
Here we go.
Mama Dirty's on food.
One of the things that I've really tried to learn to do with this show is be a little bit more critical of what I've been drinking. And not just because I know that other people are listening and, this sounds so douchey, but taking what I say into account in terms of their purchase options. But like I'm really trying to just be conscious of, what I really think about it, or where I understand the bourbon to fall on my palate and everything. But anyway, so my total is 13.5 out of 20. So anybody else, go first.
Okay, I'll go ahead and go. I thought the nose was one of the most enjoyable things, so I gave that a 4 out of 5. I thought
nice.
It really had a lot going on, a lot of anticipation. The palate, it was solid. It was kind of middle of the road. I gave it a 3 out of 5. Finish, and I have to say, this is a bourbon that we've uncorked before and we've reviewed before, and it was not favorable.
Really?
Yeah. It was not favorable. We kind of put this one...
The look in his eyes as he says that is just...
I'm not kidding around. We've not loved this bourbon.
I'm scared.
On bourbon night. We love it in cocktails.
Yeah.
But just neat, we have not loved this bourbon. But I guess it's growing on me because I've had 2 or 3 bottles because of, the use of it in cocktails, and I think it is growing on me, actually. So I scored this a lot better than I thought I was going to. So, palate, I did 3 out of 5. Finish, I also did 3 out of 5.
Okay.
And for the price, around $29. For 114 proof, I think you always have to put proof, into the consideration.
Yeah, I do too.
And since it does edge on those nutty notes, which I'm a real big fan of, I also gave it.
No kidding.
Yeah. If you watch our show on YouTube, I also gave it a 3 out of 5. So that's a solid 13 out of 20.
That's good
overall.
And I gave it a 13.5. So
Yeah,
I mean,
very
you know,
close.
we're all pretty much in the
Very
well,
close.
not all. You know, Bill hasn't given his yet. Sorry, the bourbon does work. I would just like to say that this is my
It
house.
does.
The bourbon does work.
It
in
does
my
work.
house, and-
Indeed, it does. So for me, the nose, it was a little bit too ethanol-y, I guess is the word. I guess I don't know.
Technical term.
Technical term, as the connoisseurs would say. So I gave it a 2. But in terms of the palate, I really, really enjoyed it. It went down smooth. I kind of felt all the flavors, all the kind of oaky kind of bourbon flavors that I love. So I gave it a 4. It's not perfect, but I think it was pretty close to getting up to where I like. And then the finish, I also gave a 4. Because it didn't. I'm still feeling it now, and it's not harsh. It's
Good on you.
It's just it feels right. I'm enjoying it, which is what I enjoy about bourbon. And then price, just because I want to be different, 3.8.
Whoa! 3.8? I didn't know you could do that.
No, you can't. Well,
Can we do that? I didn't know.
Apparently, you can. Okay, so we have a first 13.8 on
13.8 is the
You would.
you would is the rating I'm gonna get 13.8 out of 20.
Only cis deal in absolute.
Don't try it.
Oh man, that is.
I have the high ground. Don't try it.
I hate you.
Your legs, your arms.
All of it just in the
You're
air.
done.
Just
But I'm not going to put you out of your misery. I love you. You're my
I love
brother.
you, but you're my brother, and you were the chosen one. But
I'm not going to put you out of
Do you
your
guys
misery.
ever watch Star Wars Theory? I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
you do.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was an episode a couple weeks ago, I think, or maybe it was longer than that, of like, why did Obi-Wan leave Anakin on Mustafar?
he's a dick.
He's a dick. That's exactly what I was going to say. He's a dick.
So that
I'll take your lightsaber. Yoink! You can just go ahead and burn.
that bodes well for the Obi-Wan Solo movie
Yeah,
that
it
comes out
Which I'm
eventually.
excited for, but that's just
I think I have higher hopes for it than I do
the Solo movie.
than the Solo movie.
Oh, okay,
yeah, for
absolutely.
sure. Especially if Ewan McGregor is
Bring
on
Ewan
board.
back.
Please get that hashtag going.
Bring Ewan back.
Hashtag bring Ewan back.
Yeah.
So guys, thank you all so much for being on the show. We're gonna hop into real quick because we are officially into the longest episode of the show. So
Hey! I'm not gonna take the entire credit for that, but I'm gonna take
no,
it.
I asked you on the show.
Well,
so.
if we'd all agree on everything,
know,
it would have been
exactly.
a much shorter podcast.
Do you like Star Wars? Yep. You like
Yep.
Star Wars? Yep.
Yep.
Okay, that's
see you guys.
Did we just become best friends? Yep.
We're going to launch into tips and bits, the recommendation portion of the show.
Sure.
Bill, you want to go first with tips and bits?
23-year-old Pappy Van Winkle is very, very good. Beside that, if you are looking, let's just say you are a 21-year-old college student, you're looking to save a little bit of money, you're just mixing. I like to use Very Old Barton, 86 proof is very, very good if you're just using the mixing.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna drink like a man,
Whoa.
wow.
Just put it on the table.
Wow, just
Just put it on the table.
and that's my dick.
And it just got to mature right here.
Would you please put that on? It's a good thing we're not filming this
Trying to keep
episode.
the same.
Exactly. PG-13. All right.
I just cleaned my house.
I'm so sorry. I'll clean it up before. I'll clean it up before
No,
I leave.
get out. Get out.
I'd recommend just the Basil Hayden. I've really been enjoying it. It's been
Sorry,
good
the
to
dog
me.
just entered the house.
It's all good. It's a clusterfuck. So let's just keep going. So I've been really enjoying that. So yeah, that's kind of my recommendation right now. Very Old Barton and some basil.
Nice. Word up.
Chad?
I'm going to continue what I think I recommend on Tips and Bits last time I was on the show, but include it to the YouTube channel of my friend who we've already talked about.
James Rainey. Yeah.
YouTube.com/James Rainey to listen to his thoughts on Star Wars. But then what he also does is a new video about consistency in critics' ratings, and he actually talks about Bright, which was brought up earlier.
Yeah.
How critics bashed Bright, but then they let a lot of story elements basically pass in Last Jedi. So it's really interesting just to listen to it and kind of think about it, and why is this okay but not okay here, and da 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 da. So I would say that. Drinking wise, I'm gonna save some people some money and say pick up shocker, the Jim Beam Rye. Mm-hmm. I think the Jim Beam Rye.
That's a good call. Yeah, that's a really really good call.
Is for $22 depending on where you live. Just a really good rye for what it is.
Yeah. No spoilers for It's Bourbon Night on YouTube.
No spoilers.
I'm gonna recommend to hang with the Star Wars theme here. Star Wars from a Certain Point of View.
There you go.
Yes.
That's a great book.
It's so good. I've been reading through it kind of intermittently over the past 2 months. I got it for or just a month really. I got it for Christmas.
Oh, I didn't know we were recommending Star Wars.
Oh,
shows.
You can recommend anything.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead. I'll finish and then
we'll come back around.
I'll come back around.
In a second. There is so much in that book that it doesn't just read as like it being this like I'm trying to find the right words for it, but being like this conglomerate of canon. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's an easy reader with. I mean, it's stories, it's prose, it's, I mean, it's really accessible for somebody who wants to know more about the Star Wars lore, but also,
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Isn't willing, they don't want to sit in front of their computer for
sure.
hours at a day.
Yeah.
I'm also going to recommend, as you can probably tell, we're all kind of nerds here on the show.
I prefer the term geeks, but go ahead.
Okay, Gurks. Okay, fine, geeks. I'm going to recommend Batman White Knight, which has been an unbelievable storyline where the Joker is basically reduced to being Jack Napier again. And he starts to take political action against Batman. And it's really, really fascinating to see how he not only manipulates like the Gotham City Police Department against Batman, but also his fellow criminals. Go ahead.
Sorry. No, I was just saying.
Can we take a time out real quick? I have to pee so bad.
No, this is getting left in.
Okay.
You go ahead and pee.
Can I get through real quick?
Sure.
Thank you. I'm so it's like hold your wee for a wee. I'm about to die. Type stuff.
No, I was just gonna say, and I'll get on mic. I was gonna say I'm not a big fan of knowing who the Joker is, like origin story.
I'm not really either.
So Jack Napier, that's obviously 1989 Batman. Like I'm not a fan of.
But it's not
knowing his identity.
Of course, it's not in canon with the Batman.
Well, that's
89.
that's fine.
It is very much like a
like a what if?
Yeah, kind of like the old Elseworld stories
Sure.
that DC used to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it has I think like 8 issues.
Okay.
Of it total. And I think
is this recent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's out right now. I think only 3 or 4 issues of it have come out so far. Okay. But I've been really, really enjoying that story. I like it more than Dark Knight Metals, or Dark Knight's Metal, whatever it's called, where it's another story about Batman, where they kind of delve into. It's really complicated, but they go into also kind of Elseworlds territory where they bring in Batman, sure.
Okay.
From alternate timelines. Like there's a Batman who basically is Batman and the Joker crossed over. There's a Batman and Cyborg crossover too. I mean, there's all these different iterations of Batman that kind of collide in the Earth 1 or Earth 0, whatever it's being called now in DC continuity.
Prime or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Whatever.
Sure. It's hard to keep up with, yeah.
I haven't enjoyed that as much as I have Batman White Knight, so I definitely recommend Batman White Knight right now. And in terms of drinks, I'm trying to think what I drink curious. Try things that you've never had before.
Sure. Yeah.
that was kind of what led me to, as we talked about earlier, getting the Old Kentucky Barrel Select 4-year.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed Jim Beam Distiller's Cut as well. Jim Beam Distiller's Cut made it onto my top 5 bourbons of 2017.
Wow.
It did, yeah. And then I had Jim Beam Choice, and I was like, why did I do this?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Feeling the choice.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the Choice a little bit better than I do the Distiller's Cut, which is very, very interesting. Yeah. Anyway, so that was Tips and Bits.
Tips and bits.
Tips and Bits. So, what's wrong? Oh, okay, great. The dog's still in heat. So she's
Awesome.
Yeah.
Me
oh
too.
no, it's
It's all good.
it's a current
It's all
state of
good.
affairs. Chad and Bill, if people want to find you on social media, where can they do that?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Star Wars Bill. You can find me on my podcast, The Resistance Broadcast, every Monday and Thursday in the next coming weeks. Thank you so much for having me on. This was awesome.
Dude, you're so welcome. I mean,
absolutely.
what a
This
great
was
way
so
to
much-
talk about Star Wars.
This was so much fun. I loved it. Thank you. So yeah, find me there. Find me writing for StarWarsNewsNet.com. So yeah, just drink bourbon, watch Star Wars, do whatever you need to do.
Do both at the same time?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. Just let me add, and this is in no way like a competition, listen to this, not that, because you should listen to all Star Wars things. But I just want to plug my buddies who do Inside the Force, their podcast. Probably should have put that in the tips and bits, but
Whatever.
for me, you can follow me personally on Instagram, but why? Because I don't post that often. I just say follow It's Bourbon Night on Instagram and Twitter.
You want to plug Sarah?
Yeah, you more likely follow her. It's Will Work for Bourbon on Instagram.
So will I.
And of course our Bourbon Night, which is youtube.com/It's Bourbon Night.
That's the most important place to
That
find
is
you
the very
guys.
most important place. Absolutely.
And you guys just put out, as of recording this episode, the 7500
Q&A.
Q&A,
That's right.
which was a lot of fun. And I mean,
Yeah,
I
that was a
enjoyed
good one.
a lot.
We enjoyed
I mean,
that a lot.
not just because you gave the show a shout out or two.
Couple shout
I
outs.
know, but I mean, I always enjoy watching you guys just kind of hang out and talk about bourbon. And Bill's got a side note.
I remembered our Twitter page at RB@SWNN for the Resistance Broadcast. So just follow us there or follow me at Star Wars Bill. It's all good.
Got it.
I'm sure that if they follow you,
It'll
it'll eventually get there. Yeah.
The guys would kill me.
It would all connect, yeah. Cool.
As always, thank you all so much for listening to this show. I know this was a little bit different from what we normally do, but if you made it this far, we know that you're going to keep listening to this show too. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at My Bourbon Shop. You can also find us on Facebook. This is My Bourbon Shop. The Threadless store, threadless.com/mybourbonshop. Or maybe it's, no, it's mybourbonshop.threadless.com. Whatever. Whatever. If you want to support the show, you can head to patreon.com/mybourbonpodcast. Give us a rate and review on iTunes. We would really, really appreciate that. There have been a couple of reviews so far. Shout out to Billy and that other guy.
Wow!
Sorry, I can't remember who you are.
That other guy.
But thank you all so much for giving us positive reviews on the show. Once again, Chad and Bill, thank you all so much for being on the show. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
We'll have you back in the future as well. But until then, I'm Perry, and this is My Bourbon Podcast.